Hey, Jim Roman here, and welcome to another episode of the Jim Roman Show, where we talk about how to build a better business to build a better life. I'm Jim Roman, your host, and I want to welcome you to another episode. This is part of a series that we're doing this month on balance, B-L-A-N-C-E-D. It's a balanced approach to business. If you joined us in the first episode, we talked about how creating a more balanced business affects the rest of your life. In that episode, we talked about the first two letters, B and A. The B standing for block timing and the A standing for acquiring clients. In the second episode of this series, we then talked about the L and the second A, the L standing for leadership and the second A standing for automatic processes. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the N and the C, the N standing for numbers and the C standing for clarity. In fact, I would say when you're starting a business, growing a business, getting your business unstuck, that going back to the N and the C could be some of the most important things that you process or work through. Before we get started into today's episode, I want to welcome you for any of those people who are new to our series. What we do is I talk for 10 to 20 minutes on a particular topic. At any time, if you have questions, comments, please post below. That way we can reach out to you after this is over. We are always checking the comments below. If you like our topic, we ask you to reach out and follow us on the various platforms and let us know what else topics you would love to cover. If you find value, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. So let's jump into today's episode, part of this four-part series where we talk about balance. And then today we're going to be talking about the N and the C. So let's talk about numbers. Now, most people, when you say, let's talk about numbers, like, no, but I'm going to say, yes, I think you're going to like it. Why? Well, first off, I think so often we avoid looking at our numbers, thinking about our numbers, doing our numbers, because it's confronting. We don't like it. We're afraid what it's going to say about ourselves. I'll speak for myself. Years ago, I did not do my taxes for 2 years. The reason being, the first year, the government owed me money. The second year, I think I owed it money. But I found the reason why I didn't do that is because I was afraid that if I didn't make any money, that made judgment of myself that I was a loser. Well, I ended up doing the taxes. A friend of mine sat down with me and helped me walk through getting that done. In fact, when it was all over, I actually owed taxes. And I was like, woohoo, I owe money. And she, as a CPA, says, why are you so happy? Well, if I owe money, that means I must have made money. Now, I had nothing to show for it. But that showed me that numbers a lot of times reflect our value, and that is not the game. Numbers just show how you're doing in the game of business. I always say not knowing your numbers is like playing golf without keeping score. You might be having fun, but you're not knowing how you're doing. And I believe if you can embrace the numbers, it makes a big difference. In fact, one of my favorite books on this topic is Simple Numbers, Big Profits by Greg Crabtree. In his book, he simplifies the numbers. In fact, in the first chapter, I probably shouldn't give this away, but in the first chapter talks about paying yourself. In the second chapter, it talks about paying yourself and pay your taxes, because hopefully you're going to make enough money that paying taxes is not going to be a problem. And then the third chapter says, just to remind you, pay yourself, pay your taxes, and pay your people properly. And the book goes on. And I got to tell you, it's one of my best books on numbers I've ever read. Again, that's Simple Numbers, Big Profits by Greg Crabtree. And he really makes it really, really simple. That being said, let's talk about the different levels of numbers that you would want to know. One of the numbers I would want to know are the needs, wants, and life goals or desires. So often people do the numbers on how much do I need to make to pay the bills, and that's just the need. But I would take a step further on what do you want? In other words, having a cushion. And then ultimately to inspire you, hopefully you would do the desires that we call life goals. So your needs, wants, and desires. If you just focus on your needs, you're less likely to achieve it. If you do your needs and wants, you're more likely to achieve your needs. And if you do your needs, wants, and desires, I believe you start to achieve all of them. I can only speak from personal experience. I remember back in the day, I was running a franchise in Central Virginia, Florida, or Central Virginia. And I was doing my numbers and I created a spreadsheet. And if you want that spreadsheet, please text me, email me, or message me. You want the needs, wants, and life goal worksheet. I'll give it to you complimentary. And essentially it was an evolution of my numbers. The first number was what I needed to just scrape by. And so often we don't know that. So often when I ask people what their numbers are to pay their bills, it's always 4,000 or 5,000. Like it's a round up number, where back then my number was $3,611.15. I needed to know my numbers. And so I started figuring out, what do I need to make to just get by, not covering insurances, not eating out or anything like that, because I knew what I wanted to know what I needed to make sales wise. Then that sort of got a little bit negative, and then I went to the wants. Well, what do I want? Well, you know what I want? I would like to have a little bit of money if something breaks on my car. I would like to be able to save $100. And I would like to be able to go out for dinner to Bonefish Grill, one of my favorite restaurants, or Carrabba's, to just enjoy a meal, even if it's by myself. And it was an interesting thing as I started to go beyond my needs number and started looking at my wants number. It was huge. It was almost becoming like a video game. So I'm like, okay, I need to do, say, for argument's sake, I need to make $4,000 just to scrape by, $3,906.16, whatever it was. And I realized that I really wanted to have a little bit of a buffer. So I would put in $100 and it would go negative. I'm like, okay, take the $100. So I started playing the game where I remember I needed to hit $16,000 of revenue back then 17,000, and then 18,000. If I had $16,000 of revenue based on my commission structure back then, I could pay my bills, just scraping by. But then if I did 17,000, not only would I pay my bills, I would have a little buffer for if my car broke down, if I wanted to go out for dinner, or if I just wanted to have $100 in the bank just in case. And I got to tell you, having $100 in the bank just in case freed me up. Then I started playing with the desires of the wants, what we call life goals. I put a number called 1% of gross revenue. And when I put that 1% in, it was really negative. And I was like, well, take that back out. And then again, I started playing this game and how can I achieve my numbers? The next thing you know it, I was not only hitting my numbers, I was exceeding my numbers. I went on to making a six-figure income just by playing that game. I'm not saying that you can make a six-figure income doing that, but I think it's a great start. So if I want to be more balanced, so I have more of a life, I would start looking at my numbers in a different perspective. And what I did, and I can only share that with you for your sake, is I looked at my needs, wants, and desires. Let me give you some examples of this. We've worked with a lot of people across a lot of industries, and I find when we do the math of figuring out someone's needs, and then how many sales they need to make to hit that need, it's a game changer. For some of you, you're working so hard that you're just killing yourself. I'll give you an example, a great example. I was working with a flooring contractor, someone who owned a flooring store. You may have heard me talk about this person many times because it just brings joy to my heart how she changed the game for us. She was in our life goal seminar. Our life goal seminar is about figuring out what you want your life to look like and then putting the math to make it happen. And I remember this stuff as clear as day. So we were asking her, what are her life goals? She wanted to have a house, she wanted to have an RV, she wanted to travel, she wanted to have money in the bank, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we determined based on her average sale, she needed only 8 deals more a month to have the cash flow to be able to live that kind of life. 8. And you could see her like, what? Only 8? And I like did the math real quick. Like, it's only 2 extra sales a week. And she's like, I could do that easily. And there was like a eureka moment where she was just working hard and selling hard and working hard in hopes that someday she'd have a life. But when she did the math to the numbers to live that life, she was only 8 sales away, or 2 a week. I'm happy to say that she went on to not only hitting that number, exceeding that number, going from micro to millions. She ended up selling that business to have an ultimate life. Now she's one of our coaches around the country and helping companies do the exact same thing. See, the moral of that story is she didn't just go after needs and wants. We determined her desires or her life goals. When's the last time you sat down begrudgingly or encouragedly, which is not a word, I just made that up, and you did your math, you did the numbers. Again, if you want my needs, wants, and life goal worksheet, it's complimentary, it's an Excel spreadsheet. I'll send it to you. You can fill it out. It has every expense you would ever want as a business, as well as a personal, so you can do the math. And then there's a little section on it and determining how many deals you need to be able to hit your needs, wants, and desires. Last thing I'll say about this segment about numbers is knowing your numbers. One of my best mentors I ever had was Lisa Radke. And Lisa would always know my numbers better than I knew my numbers. And that's why I really want to sit home. I remember one day I was sitting in West End of Richmond, Virginia, at a 7-Eleven, drinking a cup of coffee, and Lisa calls me and says, hey, Jim, how you doing? And I'm going, doing pretty good. And she noticed in my voice that I wasn't as happy as I am right now. She says, everything okay? I said, well, I don't think I'm going to hit my numbers. What do you mean, she says? I said, well, my goal is to hit 60, and I'm not even at 40, and so I'm not going to hit my numbers. And she said, well, where did you come with 60? I'm like, what do you mean where did I come with 60? 60 is my number. Now, you got to understand, I was at 30 to 33 sales that month. She said, I thought your number was 40. I'm like, what, 40? And I started to reflect that, yes, my number was 40 and 60 was the lofty goal that I wanted to break a company record, and forgot that my need was 40. And I was at 30, 33. So I was only 7 sales away for that month. I got all excited. I said, well, Lisa, thank you so much for calling. I hung up the phone and I went. I think I ended up selling 10 more memberships, 10 more sales that month to hit not only my 40, but exceed my 40. For me, I didn't know my own numbers. She knew my numbers better than me. So I think if we have a better relationship with the numbers, it makes a bigger difference in business. And if you can't do that, reach out to a CPA, a bookkeeper, somebody who knows QuickBooks, and get that help. That's what I've done over the years. I've done it on my own, but I also done it with other experts to help me to understand my numbers. Because I believe if you know your numbers, you're more likely to hit your numbers. So the last thing I'll say about numbers in general are there are different layers. If you've been joining this series, I've been talking about 101 approach to these letters, 201 and 301. So the 101 level to knowing your numbers is knowing your needs, wants, and desires, or life goals. The second level is to know your profit and loss, but more importantly, your profit. How much profit do you have at the end of the day? Profit is really defined as revenue minus expenses minus your paycheck equals profit. And you want to spend profit, not revenue. And you want to pay yourself from that revenue so that you have profit. So knowing that is incredibly important. And then the final level of knowing your numbers, the 301, is how much money do you need to be able to be profitable to pay yourself, to pay your people, to hire people, but then also to expand, thinking about the future, because you don't want to just be living off the money you have. You want to be able to save money up in the future. In fact, in the book, Simple Numbers, Big Profit by Greg Crabtree, in one of the chapters, he talks about a construction firm who had 6 months of cash in the bank. And that when we hit our bad economy, that gentleman was able to take that money and buy businesses that were going out of business really, really cheap to really grow his business significantly. So in closing, the number section of today's series is, if it were me and I were you, one, I would want to know my numbers, my needs, wants, and life goals. Start there. Need help? Reach out to one of our certified business coaches. We'd be more than glad to sit down with you to work through that. Next, look at your profit and loss, specifically your profit. What is it going to take you to be profitable, to pay yourself and to pay your people? And then knowing your numbers for expansion. Do you want 1% of revenue set aside, 3% of revenue set aside, so that when an opportunity comes your way to buy a company, expand your company, invest in companies, you have the opportunity to do that? Again, this isn't easy, but it can be simple if you get the right support. So let's talk about the second letter today, and that is clarity, the C in balance. Clarity, clarity, clarity. I can't talk enough about this very topic because I think it's the game-changing letter in all of the letters, no matter how big your business is, how small your business is, how long you've been in business, how new you are to business. The clarity, 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 clarity. And not to beat a dead horse, because that would be bad, but the 5 drivers is something we talk about regularly. You can get a copy of our 5 drivers worksheet in our Micro to Millions template at my website at jimromanonline.com. Go under the programs tab and click on the Start Here program, but it's a complimentary program teaching you the Micro to Millions principles and to get you the Micro to Millions tools that you need to build a better business, to build a better life. So in the clarity, when we're working with our clients, there is different levels of clarity. Some of them you heard before. The basic clarity is knowing your why, where, and what you want out of your business. Let me say that again. Why do you do what you do? It's one of the questions we ask people, no matter how long you've been in business, how many people you have in your business, how big your business is. Why do you do what you do? Your purpose and passion. The second question we want to know is, where do you want to be? So often life happens. Life's change. You want to be checking in with yourself, making sure where you're going is where you want to head. And then the third area is, what do you want your business to look like? I really want to talk about this today because I don't think people think about it enough. So what do you want your business to look like? Your organizational structure and stability. So a lot of times I encourage people to figure out what they want. The clarity in their business is, what does their business look like today? But more importantly, what do they want their business to look like in the future? In the future. I remember an example of this is I was working with a hearing and speech therapist in Richmond, Virginia. She had 2 locations. And we were going through our Micro to Millions coaching program. And I asked her, what does she want her business to look like? So I encouraged her to do an org chart of what her business looks like today, but more importantly, what she wants her business to look like in the future. So she went out and did the assignment, and in doing the assignment, she had this big org chart. She presents it to me. She goes, here, As a hearing and speech therapist, it's very important that my patients who are having hearing issues, and more importantly, having cochlear implants, need to have therapy and counseling to deal with this new device in their head. And that part of that process, she wants the parents to be involved in their recovery. In other words, she's not going to do all the work by herself. The parents need to be a part of that process for the healing to begin and for the results to happen. And that she wants training involved in that. She wants a training division so that she's not doing it all herself. So she's working with the patient, she's working with the parents, and she's working with the training of other people so that she can deliver a great product and service. I think it was a month or two later, she lets me know for our coach. She said, "Oh, I have something to share with you." And as a business coach, when someone waits to share something with you, it could be good news, it could be bad news. So we sat down in our session. She says, "I have some great news. I had a doctor reach out to me at my second location and asked to merge with me. Since they were targeting similar clients, they shared the same office. She said, we would like to merge." And I'm like, "Yes, what'd you tell them?" She said, "I told them no." I was like, "What? You told them no?" "Yeah, I looked at my org chart that you told me to put together a couple of months ago, and she wasn't on it. So I told her, no, thank you. Not a part of my business plan." And I got to tell you, that was music to my ears, because she had a plan and she stuck to it. Just because there's an opportunity down the road doesn't mean you should take it. I remember working with a landscaping company. He was looking to acquire another landscaping company. He says, "Jim, should I do it?" I go, "I don't know. I don't know your numbers. I don't know what you ultimately want to accomplish. But not knowing your numbers, I don't know if that's a good deal." So when's the last time you asked yourself, what do you want your business to look like today? Survival, but more importantly, in the future, thriving. Going from surviving to thriving would make the world of difference. What else would I want to know about clarity? I would want to know about clarity because I would want to know what my business want to do for me financially, physically, culturally. I would want to know physically what it's going to look like. Culturally, what kind of environment do I want to create for my team members to win? And then financially, how do I use this vehicle, this tool called business, to do more for others? See, I think so often we don't have balance in our life or balance in our business. We don't take time to work on our businesses versus working in our businesses. This statement is quoted in the book EMIT by Michael Gerber, where he talks about taking the time to work on your business so that when you work in your business, it becomes a lot easier. And that's why we do these episodes. That's why we pick a topic each week, because I hope that something you'll get out of it and act on it. Act on it and apply this. Why? Years ago, one of my mentors said to me, he was talking about two orators in ancient Rome. And an orator being a speaker, he said that there was one orator or speaker that when he spoke, people were inspired. They said, "Great speech." But when the other orator or speaker spoke, they said, "Let's charge. Let's take action." My question to you is, what are you going to do today, this week, this month, to take control of your life, to take control of your business, and start to live that kind of life you want? See, these are important to us because we really want to make the big difference. And so as we go through this episode and finish up, I want to ask you this question. What are you going to act on during this episode? Whether you're listening to this on the radio, you listen to this on your phone, or you're watching this live, how are you going to act on this content? Comment below. Message me, text me. Because I believe if you know your numbers, you're one step ahead of being more successful. Guaranteed. In fact, we're in a process of updating our business diagnostic tool we call the balance analysis. And I believe if you take these 8 tools and you start working each one of these 8 tools, it takes your business to the next stage. And you know, we talked about the 9 stages of business ownership, that in the beginning stages, the business owns you, and in the later stages, you own it. Let's own this, people. Let's make this happen. So as we finish up, again, thank you for being here today in this short, sweet episode. If you like what you saw today, please like, share, and follow. I'm on all the social media at jimromanonline.com. And if you want our free resources, go to my website at jimromanonline.com, click on the programs, and get the Start Here program so that we can better serve you from that being said. So again, act, implement, make a difference, because I believe the more balanced the business you have, the more balanced life you will achieve. Again, I'm Jim Roman. As always, the more you know, the more we grow. God bless and have a great rest of your day.